Hey everyone, we got full Moon Karten yesterday. I sadly had to go for pity to get him, or to pity to get him, which is actually a pity because Karten isn't good. And in this review, we will find out why that is. So without further ado, let's check it out. We got all the animations today, super cool. I got it all. So in both forms he's a chainer basically. You should not use him as a limit burst damage dealer because his limit burst is bad in both forms. Sprite, the base sprite I like a lot, it's pretty dope. I'm not a fan of the werewolf thingy in his Brave Shift, but I guess it is what everyone expected based on the 7-star version. So happy for everyone who likes werewolves. I am not particularly a fan of that type. But the base form looks cool. Anyway, the abilities. Let's zoom in a little bit on that. It's not a lot of abilities, but they all have a lot of text. So innate triple cast, which is cool. He is pretty much a good pair with, or pairs well with Tifa and Sephiroth. And as you can see, Wailing Claw and Somber Claw, they are both really good for, or good complements to Tifa and Sephiroth. That is, if you have another Bolting Strike chainer. Well, technically you could also do Stardust Ray with Shrouded Judgment, but yeah, I mean, he has a Water or Dark Imbue for the entire party, but funnily enough, the Water/Dark Amp is only for himself. Whoever thought of that? I don't know, but that was not a clever idea. Should have been 30 at least for the party. We have other units that do 30 for the party and are damage dealers. Like, I don't know, doesn't Yigni do that, for example? So should have been 30 for the party and 50 for self. Would not be breaking anything. Anyway, as you can see, Shrouded Judgment, nothing too fancy. Haunting Barrage is a 125 Demon Human Reaper killer, which is a weird number, but he has 150% in his passives that are tied to a stupid condition. We'll get to that in a moment. Cursed Gift is his 25% Fist in Peril, lasts 5 turns, has 5 turns cooldown, and the best thing about this is it's all enemies. The attack magic break at 75%, I don't know why this is on the ability, but I guess it's something. You're never gonna use that really, because there's better breaks, far better breaks even. Other than that, 5 stacks Mirage, 100 Dark Resistance and Water Resistance 75, which is okay, but only to himself, so usefulness is a little bit diminished when it comes to party buffs. And yeah, I mean, he has Regain Composure, which is a nice touch on his mitigation, 70%. And also increases stat break immunity by 100%, which is okay, I guess. On the passive side of things, we got the standard stuff with EX ability awakenings. EX plus 2 fills entire LB gauge. EX plus 3 gives him 500 static attack. One thing I'd like to mention is Bloodlust Control, which increases damage against humans, reapers, and demons by 150 if his HP drops below 50%. Now, he is a Clash of Worlds unit, and as you have seen from this Clash of Worlds, it is not a good idea to ever take damage on the boss, because if you're taking damage, you are dead, pretty much. So him having the killers locked to this threshold is a bad thing per se. Also, another fact that I heavily dislike is that he only has 40% evasion instead of the usual 50 for Clash units. I don't know why they thought 40% was good when most of the other, or all of the other DPS units are 50, but here we are, I guess. And yeah, I mean, other than that, he has 6x chain cap, which is cool if you're wearing his Trustmaster, Super Trustmaster, or Karten's Trustmaster and Super Trustmaster, the 7-star Karten that is. So it's something, I guess. But as you can also see, equipment attack is only raised by 150 meaning you need an extra source of true dual wield attack, which is bad. I mean, he has his Super Trust Master, which is 50% true dual wield, we'll get to that. But you don't want to use the Super Trust Master outside of these killer types, which it has, so it is an issue. I was hoping that we were past these things for true dual wield units, because true dual wield units, they aren't that good anymore. Honestly, whenever you have the chance to build a true dual wield unit for true double hand, it is better because of variance. You can actually get a 6x cap comfortably these days. So true dual wield units, they should not be penalized with having to also get their chain, their equipment attack to max through a materia slot. That is bad game or unit design from my point of view. The limit burst in base form 150x mod. The only cool thing which I like about this is that it makes everyone absorb dark for a turn. It is also super cheap. 40 LB crystals is super cheap, so technically speaking you could make everyone immune to dark every turn if you wanted to. But then again, you're using his LB, which is kind of bad. It's 5 hits, making things even worse. But the Dark Absorb may come in handy at some point, sometime down the line. Hopefully, maybe not. The Brave Shift, more of the same, I'd say. However, we do have a little bit more damage on this thing, right? Predatory Pounce, on demand, 25% fist in peril, which is rather cool. The 80% breaks to defend and spirit, they are laughable. The modifiers on this ability, they are okay. Basically 20x and 80x, making this a 100x attack in total. Not too shabby. But the real deal starts down below when we get to the morale scaling abilities. Monstrous Mauling, Lupine, Laceration. They all have decent mods attached to them. 380x for Starter Stray, 400x for Bolting Strike with 40x base for both abilities. It's decent. But the real DPS is coming from a Feral Frenzy, which is a single turn Berserk, and it's only for that turn you use it. So on the next turn, he is not Berserked anymore. And the cool thing about Berserk abilities is that these stack onto your buffs, meaning if you have a 400% attack buff, this 500 attack buff is put onto this. So no diminishing returns, you're getting a lot of attack with this, and it's cool. It's a cool mechanic to have. Sky also has that for when she uses her jump ability, for example, so it's cool. But yeah, the real deal here is the 300, 300x, 450x baseline, which makes this already a 1050x modifier ability. You can also stack this up additionally for another 60x via his Brave Shifted LB. We'll get to that in a second. But in Clash of Wills, this also gets up to 1370x via morale, which is good. I do not want to say crazy because Lara has 3500x modifier. And as you can see, Karten does not reach the levels of Lara in that regard. But it's still a good ability, nonetheless. And it's flex element too, which is good. On the passive side of things, more of the same, to be honest. Nothing too fancy here, other than, let me quickly check. Yeah, one of the things I really don't like is Savage Strength, because he has full passive Provoke in his kit. And that is going to be an issue. But technically no, because the game is kind of weird in how it works. If you have a passive Provoke unit in slot 1, but Karten on slot 2, the unit in slot 1 with passive Provoke will always take the hits. So technically speaking, you can circumvent this by having Karten on a lower number of slot. And that is okay. But if you don't want a passive Provoker at all, then this will bite you. So, kind of an iffy thing to have. Also another thing is the HP threshold thingy, which I don't like. I mean, he gets resistance to elements by 50% when he drops below 85, which is okay because, and this is not on the slides, it's either Cursed Predator or Savage Strength. One of them is doing it, but he takes 25% damage to his HP, or 25% HP damage every single turn. Now he has an ability to heal himself up again, but for Clash of Wills, ooh, that is bad. You don't want to take damage, and taking damage is bad. It's always bad. But then again, if he can heal himself up, it's going to be okay, but it's still a mechanic that for trials, if they ever become good again and hard, taking damage might not be a good option. But anyway, the Brave Shifted LB, as you can see, it's still 150x, 50% drain to all enemies. And Gumi also put out a note right away when the game launched yesterday that this ability is broken when you cannot, so it does not deal overkill damage, meaning if the first hit in his 4 hits chain kills the boss, the 3 other hits will not land. So Gumi themselves are already telling you to never use this move as a finishing move to kill bosses. You're supposed to use his Grandis in Brave Shift. The cool thing about this is, you're gonna use this at least once, is for the modifier increase. Now this is only 60x increase, and if you are having, let me just briefly calc this, 300, 600, let me just go back once so I don't make any mistakes. So it's 600, 1050x plus 137x, and now you're adding 60 to that, so let me just quickly save this up. 60 divided by this. It's a 2.4% damage increase, and the question is a 2.47% damage increase worth it? Maybe not if you're overcapping already, but it's something, I guess. Anyway, Trustmaster, Super Trustmaster. The Trustmaster, an accessory, 53 attack, 25% Demon Human Reaper killer. Only physical though. And Karten only, Full Moon Karten that is, gains 100 static attack, which is not a lot. It's kind of to be honest. It's a good TMR for when you need the killers. However, if you're building Karten for True Double Hand, you should use Avalanche's, Tifa's, Super Trustmaster, because with True Double Hand, you gain more attack via the passive equipment attack. But for True Dual Wield, his own Trustmaster beats Avalanche's, Tifa's, Super Trustmaster by, I think, about 19 attack or so, or 20 attack. It's not much, but it's noticeable. The Super Trustmaster is a materia, 60% attack, no conditions, 50% True Dual Wield attack, and 50% Demon Human Reaper killer, physical only. Now, this may or may not cause discussions, and I'd be happy to discuss this with you, but I think this is only an okay-ish Super Trustmaster. I would go even so far calling it a bad Super Trustmaster, because for one reason, it's a Super Trustmaster on a time-limited unit. And time-limited units, when they have killers on them, even if it's multiple killers, they usually have 75% killers. Now take Flammy's STMR, for example, Legendary Soaring Dragon. It also has 60% attack, but 75% killers to 3 races. Why can't Karten have this? I mean, Gumi has become rather unimaginative with Trustmasters and Super Trustmasters lately. Why could they not have dropped a True Dual Wield attack, instead make him a innate 200 Dual Wield attack unit and give us 75% killers? Because believe it or not, most of the time these days, you're not looking for 50% killer materials anymore. You do want to use 75% killer materials, because guess what? They are more slot efficient. And the faster you can cap your killers, the more room you have for either resistances if they need it, for LB, fill rate or LB crystals, or what else is there? evasion, for example. So you do have more slots to play with, to set to your needs, whatever you need. And 50% killer materials, I don't like them, especially if they are on a Super Trust Master. I do not accept 50% killer materials, even if they're multiple race. I want 75%, especially on time limited units. And that is why I think the Super Trust Master is only okay. If you're asking me, I would always say this is a bad Super Trust Master. Hands down, you can't convince me otherwise. But I would accept it if you're saying this is a good STMR. I can see the point, 60% attack, 50% true do attack. Looks good on paper, but when you actually play the game, you're gonna realize rather quickly that you don't need either of those. Let's move on to the vision card. That is good news, actually. 110 attack vision card, which I feel like is bad these days. Should have been 115. We've had Ling, for example, at 115. We've got Lara, who has 125. Why can't Karten have nice things? Should have been 125, honestly. Or 115 at the very least. The passives though, rather decent. 50% attack with a fist, 25 LB damage. And what I personally like, and this is a case where I'm fine with 50% killers, it's on a vision card, and FFBE units gain 50% Demon Human Reaper Killer. However, only physical, magic, DPS do not gain anything. Still, I like the card, it's very solid, and I'm happy to have it. At least one version of it is enough for me though. I'm not, well, technically I am using a lot of FFBE units these days. But for Dark Visions, we're not, and so it's more of a Clash thing, and maybe Trials, or what's it called? The challenges in the Chronicle challenges sometimes are locked to FFBE units, so it's gonna have some use. And here comes the damage calculations. Rather standard, nothing really changed. You can pause the video if you want to read through all of this. It's a lot of text, as you can see. I don't like the slide personally, it's overloaded with text. Maybe when I have the time, done with my research paper, etc., I might actually fix this somehow. And these are the builds. So we're starting off with the better of the two, the true double hand build. It is only viable for human reapers and demons. And the reason, as you can see, is rather easy. You're gonna need a lot of true double hand stuff. We're gonna use Master of Fate, Guardian of Light Riku, and Legendary Moogle Hero. And Indestructible Light has to be used. We are using the Clash robe for this. You could also use the Clash helmet for this. Either is fine, honestly. It really just makes no greater difference. I think you get a little bit more DPS if you're using the helmet and Sephiroth's clothes, for example. But for this one, I just went with this way. And you're gonna use his own vision card and the Trust Master. Now this is actually built for a human boss. So I made the exception because I wanted to show off how this can work out against a perfect type enemy. So yeah, this is built towards humans. This would cap out on human damage, human killer 300%, attack, etc. So that's one way to build him. The standard build is going to be the true dual wield build outside of the 3 innate good ones, and it's using 2 of his TMR. And if you don't have 2 of a TMR, you can use 1 TMR and 1 Super Trust Master from Avalanche Tifa, for example. It's going to be fine. As you can see, I built this for beasts. It's super easy to build for beasts. We are capping true dual wield attack via 7-star Karten Super Trust Master here. And yeah, I mean, we do have enough slots to fill it with Esper stuff, GF extension, Dream of the Faith, caps out rather easily, but also considering we're using Tifa's Super Trust Master, Tifa's Vision card, which has 100% Beast Killer on this. So I made things a little bit easier, but as you can see, using 2 Esper stats materials, you're gonna have a lot of wiggle room with Karten with respect to killers, at least in the true dual wield build. But as you can see, the true dual wield build is not doing well. It is barely above the Dane, so I hope you can see my mouse. It's in the middle of the pack, so 3.2 billion damage is calculated for the true dual wield build. And this is on a water team, I should say, so meaning he gets 50% amp. We're having a 135% water imperil on this and a 25 water imperil field. So this is the absolute best case for Karten, and he still just barely ekes out the Dane. So this is bad, right? Now the true double hand build, also on a water team, that one looks rather decent, right? He's closer to true dual wield Tifa, keep that in mind, not true double hand Tifa. True double hand Tifa is very strong. But also, full Moon Karten is only 80% the damage of Lara Croft, as you can see. And that speaks volumes, I'd say. And that is an LB finishing Lara Croft in Clash of Will, in Dark Visions. Now, this Karten here is using his chaining move. In Clash of Wills, when Lara Croft uses her 3500x modifier chaining move, she will laugh at full Moon Karten's damage. So keep that in mind. So yeah, how does he fare in the meta? Well, in Clash of Wills, he's weaker than Lara in true dual wield, meaning Karten in true dual wield, I should specify, and somewhat comparable in true double hand, but only when building him for his innate killers, such that he's still 80% of Lara's damage, as you just saw. In Dark Visions, I don't see him being used at all. Not even in dark teams. He may be a decent pick for when you need to AoE imbue your team for dark or water. But honestly, for water we have Cacteria. For dark you could just use Madame Adele, honestly. So the Brave Shift also has a 25% HP tax per turn, which I heavily dislike. The killers are tied to his HP threshold, which I also dislike. He can only imbue the team but not amplify it, which further diminishes his value. Has weak breaks, no innate true dual wield, 200%. There are so many issues with Karten. I think it's easier to say what I like about the unit than saying what I dislike about the unit, because honestly, I don't like anything at all other than the Super Trustmaster being maybe somehow useful for very corner cases, and I fully regret pulling for him, honestly. I don't know what went through my head when I made the decision to pull for him, but 24 hours later, I think I should not have pulled, but here we are. So should you pull? No. He's got a disappointing kit, he's weaker than Lara in every single aspect, has very limited use outside of Clash, and you should skip him. Honestly, really skip him. If you're asking yourself how to make Karten work, the answer is going to be probably not, and you're better off using another unit. He has no morale fillers, he has no party support, he has literally nothing other than his mediocre damage. I mean, if you're hunting for Super Trustmasters and Trustmasters, yeah, it's an okay reason because he's time limited. But trust me, if I have regrets 24 hours later after pulling for him, it should be a huge warning sign that you should not pull if you haven't by now. Yeah. So yeah. And this is the end of today's review. So 2 weeks in a row we're getting rather bad units for Clash and in general FFBE, which I find kind of tragic. And yeah, let's see what we get next week. So plans for the weekend. Tomorrow, Saturday, I will do a new video. It's not going to be Clash. It is going to be top 5 units I regret not pulling for. And this also spoils which other videos I have in store, right? So I am also gonna do top 5 units I regret pulling for and top 5 units that I do not regret pulling ever. And it's going to be only Neo Vision units, because if I extend this to to 7 stars. Maybe I'll extend this to 7 stars. We'll see. But yeah, those are going to be videos that will be coming out. We're starting with top 5 units that I regret not pulling, because that's the easiest one. On Sunday, I will do the monthly outlook for November, new edition units. On Monday, hopefully I'll be able to do Clash of Wills, my ranking score. And yeah, that's going to be it for the weekend, because Monday is a public holiday in Germany, but not for every city. So, well, it's in mine. So here we are. I got a free day on Monday. Might as well make work of it. I forgot the name. How you call this? The region. Yeah, the region where I'm living in. North Rhine-Westphalia, if that's rings a bell. It's a public holiday here, so I'm kind of excited. Long weekend for me. Anyway, I don't want to prolong this video. I know you guys hate long videos, so thank you all for watching. See you all tomorrow for a fun video. Have a nice rest of the Friday morning, even afternoon, wherever you're from. See you then. Bye bye.